Okay. October, November 2022, paper 3, variant 3. Okay. Yeah. Question 1. Shows the trams carry passengers from one place to another. This is a speed time graph. Speed time graph section out stopping. Okay. A tram travels from A to E, stopping at B, C, D on the way. So B, C, D, it stops, which is quite obvious. Why? Because at these points, at point B, point C, point D, the speed was zero, meaning that it stopped. Determine the time interval between, okay, the tram leaving A and arriving at C. Can I find the time between A and C? It's quite easy. What's the time between A and C؟ يلا شوي. هم،
9 minutes.
بالظبط. Time between A and C is what is 9 minutes. حلو. That's easy. Leaving A and arriving at C. طيب. Determine the maximum speed of the tram during the journey from A to E. What is...
هي مش سي عند 10.
Hmm?
مش سي عند 10.
احنا we minus leaving. بص leaving A. Where does it leave A? It leaves A هنا. Okay, which is at 1. And it arrives at 10. So it's 9 minutes. Okay. يلا. The maximum speed of the tram. What is the maximum speed?
7.5.
7.5. طب تعالوا نزوم in. Let's zoom in. يلا. 7, 7.2, 7.4, 7.5. That is correct. صح. That is correct. يلا. So the maximum speed is 7.5. Why is this the maximum speed? خلاص علشان Okay, ثانية واحدة. Okay, yes, this is the maximum speed. It's the highest point which the tram reached in this graph. Easy. The tram decelerates as it approaches each stop. Use the information to identify the greatest deceleration. Can I identify the greatest acceleration, deceleration? Where was the
C.
point?
C.
C.
C. Okay, why? As it
Because
approaches C.
And it has
that
the
was the
steep
maximum
slope.
speed.
Has the steep slope.
Slope. احنا بص احنا we don't talk about the speed. خلي بالك انا I can have the maximum speed. Okay. I can have the maximum speed عادي. And I can have a small deceleration or a large deceleration or whatever type of deceleration. Okay. But it doesn't have to do with the speed. It has to do with the slope. From this point to this point, it was a very steep slope. شايفين الفال هنا. Okay. This was almost vertical. طبعا cannot be 100% vertical. بس يعني ايه it was quite steep. بصوا at this point for example while approaching B it was steep but not as steep as in C. صح. The gradient in B is less. The gradient in D is also less. The gradient in E is also less. So the largest gradient, the steepest line, okay, it all has to do with the steepness of the line. The steepest line is where? It's at C. Correct. But the greatest deceleration as it approaches C, the reason is it has the steepest slope, the largest gradient.
Mister ممكن أقول has a greater slope.
Greater slope. Okay, yes. Okay. The total distance between A and E is 5,200 meters. The tram takes 1,380 seconds. Determine the average speed. Yalla, what's the equation we use?
Total distance over total time.
Yes, average speed equals total distance over total time. Yeah, total distance is 5,200 and total time is 1,380. Calculate the average speed. Yeah, can someone calculate it for me?
3.77.
3.77 meters per second. Yeah, 3.77 meters per second. Good.
ممكن أقول 3.8.
Yes, we can write down 3.8. Okay. A builder buys some tiles to repair the floor. He checks that the new tiles are the same size. Dimensions of the tiles on the floor are 25 by 20 by 0.3 centimeters. State the name of a suitable instrument for measuring the length and width of each tile.
measuring tape.
A
Um,
ruler.
meter ruler would be better. Okay, meter ruler. Oh, measuring tape is not wrong. Measuring tape might not be wrong. بس which would be even better is the meter ruler. طب يا مستر what if I wrote down meter ruler? What if I wrote down a measuring tape? لا, it would be right. It could be right. بس usually احنا we prefer to use the measuring tape while measuring distances which are longer than 1 meter. Okay, longer than 1 meter. For example, I want to measure the width of the room. It's 4 or 5 meters. Okay, then I'll use the measuring tape. I need to measure the length of the football field. Okay, then I will use the measuring tape. But if I want to measure small distances, a couple of centimeters long, then usually I prefer to use the meter ruler. Describe how to determine the average thickness of one tile. How can I find the average thickness of one tile?
هنعمل لهم ستاك كلهم، بعد كده هنعمل لهم ميجر وهم ستاك،
Stack,
وبعد كده
stack.
هعمل ديفايد.
حلو. How many tiles should I stack?
يعني
10
100
مثلا.
I guess 100
10.
10, 20, 100 might be a little too much. Okay. خلي بالك احنا we're not talking about sheets of paper. Okay. If I stack sheets of paper, yes, we can say 100, 200, whatever number of sheets of paper would be okay. But هنا I'm talking about tiles which are يعني much thicker than paper. فهنا if I want to stack, I can say I'll stack, let's say 10 um, tiles. يلا stack 10 tiles over each other. Okay. Then what should I do? Yeah. What should I do next?
هنmeasure the
Measure it.
total
I'll
the
measure
total
how
thickness.
the length
Measure, yes, the length
هنميجر
or the thickness يعني yes. Measure يلا the thickness.
and divide the number of thickness with the number of the tiles.
Yes, okay. Measure the thickness of the 10 tiles, let's say. Stack هنا stack 10 tiles. Measure the thickness of the 10 tiles together. Okay, 10 tiles. And then divide the thickness by 10. طب if you stack 20 خلاص do the same steps but using 20 instead of 10. Calculate the volume of the tile. Volume equals
هو الانسر 150.
length times width times height.
okay. أنا I don't like الفاينل answers. أنا always I want steps الأول equation length times width times height. Then I need to put in the numbers 25 times 20 times 0.3. And then بقى what's final answer?
150.
150. That's the volume. طب calculate the density. 4 marks. يلا include your answer. Density
mass of
equals
volume.
يلا mass over
Mass
volume.
over volume.
What's the mass?
110.
410 جرامز.
Hmm.
بس لو احنا لما نيجي نعمل mass of volume لازم نعمل convert لجرامز كيلو جرامز.
لا. Density equals mass over volume. You can use grams and the volume would be in centimeters cubed. عادي. Another equation could be kilograms and the volume would be meters cubed. It's okay. Okay. But when must I use kilograms?
لما مثلا يعني الفوليوم تبقى in meters cubed.
ماشي. There's another one which I have to use kilograms.
ده في اللي هو when we calculate weight.
When we calculate weight. Okay. When we calculate the weight, we have to use kilograms. صح. يلا. Density equals mass over volume. We just found out the volume. يلا 410 divided by 150 would be
2.73
2.73. الunit. What's the unit?
gram per centimeter square.
Squared?
cubed sorry.
cubed. Calculate the weight of the tile. Weight equals.
mg.
Yeah.
mass times g.
What's the mass?
410 times 9.8.
لا هتبقى 0.41
صح
mass
صح.
وال
اوكي الماس يا شباب هنا it's the weight. يبقى احنا we just said it حالا صح. We just said it. Whenever I have the weight I must use the mass as أو in kilograms. How can I convert this mass into kilograms? 410 grams into kilograms. I must divide by 1,000, which would give me 0.41 kilograms. Yeah. So mass 0.41. What's the G?
9.8.
9.8.
Yeah. A weight would be around 4.
4.018.
4.018 يعني 4.0. This could be 4.0 newtons. حلو. Okay, good.
بس أنا عندي سؤال. هو لما مثلا يكون في حاجة زي كده 4.0 أو بتاع، لازم أكتب يعني لازم أكتب ديسمال صح؟ يعني لازم أكتب الزيرو بعديها، ما ينفعش أكتب 4 لوحدها صح؟
لا in paper 3 you can write down 4 عادي. In paper 3 عادي I can write down 4 عادي. You don't have to write down 4.0 paper 3. Paper 6 لا you have to write down 4.0 أو if it's 3 significant figures 4.00 أو in this case 4.02 مثلا. Okay. Paper 6 بس paper 3 عادي we can write down one significant figure. طيب device. I have several devices and I need to find the input energy and the useful output energy. Device, for example, the microphone, the useful input energy was the sound. The useful output energy was electrical energy. Electric fire, the input energy was electrical. What about the output energy?
Heat.
Heat. صح. Heat أو thermal energy. طب الويند ترباين الانبوت انرجي حاجه ولا
kinetic.
kinetic. Yes, برافو. طيب what device has an input energy of electrical and output energy of sound?
سبيكر.
ممكن أكتب thermal. أكتب buzzer.
instead of heat you can write down thermal طبعا. Instead of heat you can write down thermal. هنا you can write down speaker. Yes. buzzer. Okay. ماشي.
ممكن أكتب headphones.
مثلا كتبت راديو.
headphones. Okay. headphones. Okay.
بس أنا كتبت تلفزيون.
تلفزيون لا تلفزيون لا. بص هو الاكتشوال يوسفول اوتبوت اوف التلفزيون هو لايت. لايت هو فيها ساوند. يس it does have sound بس يعني المين useful output is light. speaker. في حد قال راديو والراديو is يعني not wrong على فكرة. I don't think إن هي it's written in the marking scheme بس I think إن هو it could be right. Okay. It does have an input energy of electrical energy and an output of sound. It could be right. Okay. حلو. Complete the sentences about the energy transfers. His body converts حاجة to حاجة.
chemical to kinetic.
صح. Okay. Stored energy inside the body. Stored energy inside the body is always chemical and then it is converted into kinetic. ماشي. To kinetic energy. طب when the tennis ball is moving upwards, the ball gains what type of energy?
Gravitational potential.
صح. Gravitational potential energy. صح؟ ماشي حلو. Explain why the height gained by the ball decreases with each success.
Gravity.
لا.
Energy loss.
Energy transferred to ground.
Energy
Energy transferred to ground.
Energy transferred to ground أو energy is lost. صح. كلمة energy is lost is good. Okay. Transfer to the ground يعني it is lost to the environment, which is okay. Okay. أنا
Energy transferred to
ها
the surroundings.
energy إيه؟
Energy is transferred to the surroundings.
ماشي. energy is lost to the environment. أو energy is lost to the surroundings. ماشي. أو energy is transferred. ماشي. اوكي حلو. Okay, during an experiment, the heater supplies thermal energy to substance. ماشي. Initially, it was a solid. Initially, it was a solid moving through process A, process B, and then reaching a gas. Give the state of the substance between A and B.
liquid.
liquid.
طبعا liquid. Yes. What's process A?
melting.
Melting.
Process B?
Evaporation.
boiling.
boiling أو evaporation. هما
بويلينج
يعني preferably يعني it would be better to write down boiling at this point. وانا هقول لكم ليه. why is it boiling and not evaporation؟ يعني evaporation could be right بس هنا you have to write down boiling. ليه؟ because هنا it's at a constant temperature. خلي بالكم هنا it's at a constant what? Constant temperature. And we know that evaporation can occur at any temperature. Evaporation can occur at any temperature, even if we have cold liquid. برضو it can evaporate. بس boiling it must occur at a specific temperature, at a constant temperature. يبقى I cannot boil water, for example, at 50 degrees Celsius. لا, I have to boil water at 100 degrees. خلاص, that's constant temperature. I cannot change that temperature. يبقى it has to be boiling in this experiment. The experiment is repeated using a heater with a greater power output. All the variables are kept constant. All the other variables are kept constant. Okay. Draw on figure 4.1 how the temperature would differ. How will it differ?
هي عامة التوتال هيبقى ستيبر، بس برضه هيبقى فيه اللي هي بوينت A وبوينت B، دول برضه هيبقوا constant straight line يعني.
هيبقوا constant straight line. يعني initially it will start at the same temperature. صح؟ Initially it will start at the same temperature. بس finally when I reach this gas, okay, مثلا when I reach the gas هنا, will I take برضه 30 minutes ولا will I take less than 30 minutes? That's the whole point. Will I
Less.
take the whole time? لا, I won't take the whole time. Why will I take less time? Because it has a greater power. Okay, it has a greater power output. Greater power output means that it will finish up the whole process but in a less time. Okay, that's all. That's the whole point of power. We can do the same energy but in less time. صح كده؟ Um, okay, yeah, let's draw a steeper line initially. Okay, it will take some time. Initially, it will take some time. And it has to be at the same temperature, which is 60. Okay, for some time هنا. And then a steeper line which would reach برضه the same temperature هنا. And I have to move this. Okay, it will take some time هنا on the horizontal, and then it will be a steeper line reaching the final temperature. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. يمكن the last one it needs to be a bit steeper. That's it. Any questions? next question. خلاص you're done with the graph. hmm. Arrangement of the molecules and the motion of the molecules في السوليد. ايه الارينجمنت؟
regular
regular arrangement.
regular سوري اتلخبطت.
طبعا regular. What about الجاس؟
irregular.
Irregular.
طبعا irregular. الموشن solid
Irregular.
Solid is
fixed
vibrating
space.
place. Gas slide. Gas
لا
move randomly.
بس random no direction.
Rotate in fixed position.
move
fixed
fast
position.
and random in any direction بتاعت الجاز.
صح fast and random in all directions. Yeah, in all directions. حلو برافو. برافو عليكم. A student shines a ray of light towards the glass prism. The angles are 45, 90, 45. Critical angle for the glass is 42. ماشي. Continue the path of the ray inside the prism. Okay. So continue the path of the ray in the glass prism to the boundary between يعني احنا we want to continue the path, the initial path. يلا. The initial path of the ray. How will it move? Will it bend مثلا downwards ولا will it bend upwards
هو
ولا
هو هتخش البريزم وهتعمل total internal reflection
طب واحدة
حتى
واحدة
الحتة
واحدة
اللي
واحدة
عامله.
انت بتستبقي واحدة واحدة. Initially how will it move؟ يعني at this point will it move upwards ولا
هتكمل
downwards؟
straight.
Straight line. It will continue as a straight line. طيب why will it continue as a straight line؟ يعني احنا we need to discuss this point. Why will
It's
it
90 degrees to the barrier.
it's 90 degrees to the barrier. يعني it's moving along what؟
It's moving along the normal line.
It's moving along the normal line. يبقى whenever I'm moving along the normal line, will the wave bend? لا, it will not bend. Okay, if I'm moving along, okay, I'm moving 90 degrees to the barrier. I'm moving perpendicularly to the barrier. Will the wave bend? لا, it will not bend.
يعني أنا أرسم straight line معدي من الجلاس
بس
prism يعني.
بس هنرسم straight line. Yes, it's okay. We will continue this line as a straight line كده. اهو with the arrow. This is the arrow. طيب this was the first point. The first point. طيب draw and label the normal at the point at which it meets this boundary. How will I draw the normal هنا? How will I draw the normal؟ يلا تعالى.
Perpendicular to the barrier.
Perpendicular to the barrier. يلا احنا at this point I need to draw a normal. Let's choose another color. Okay. فهنا to draw the normal طبعا it has to be perpendicular. طبعا يا شباب انتوا you are drawing it accurately. You have to draw it accurately. طبعا I'm not drawing accurately بس انتوا you have to draw it quite accurately. This is the normal. صح خلاص I took the mark. Continue your ray until it emerges into air. طيب واحدة واحدة. At this point what is the angle of incidence؟
45.
At this point the angle of incidence is 45. ليه؟ Why is it 45? This is the angle of incidence. It has to be 45. خلاص ما هو كده كده it's 90 degrees 90 degree prism. It's 45 45 90 ف يعني I'm pretty sure that this angle has to be 45. طيب السؤال بقى استنى. السؤال what will happen at this instant؟ Will it move outside or will it be refracted outside the prism؟
Total internal reflection.
Total
مش تفرق.
internal reflection. Apparently you're the only one who has studied this point. طيب why will total internal reflection occur at this point؟ ليه هيحصل total internal reflection؟
عشان the critical angle is
أكبر
more
من critical angle.
The
أيوة.
angle of incidence is now 45 degrees and the critical angle is 42 degrees. The angle of incidence equals 45. The critical equals 42. يبقى whenever the incidence is greater, the incidence is greater than the critical angle, what happens? Total internal reflection. صح؟ يعني ايه total internal reflection? It will not move outside. It will move back inside the prism. It will move back inside the prism with an angle of 45. Oh, this angle will be برضو 45. But this is the arrow has moved inside the prism again with an angle of 45 degrees. طب at this point again I will draw another normal. Okay. Well, you don't need to draw the normal at this point, but I will draw it. Okay. Oh, I'll draw another normal at this point. The angle of incidence هنا is
هو ليه critical
نعم
ليه critical 42 ليه critical 42
مش ليه هو he said that the critical angle. Okay.
ماشي.
He said that the angle is 42. شباب, you're not required to memorize any critical angles. he will tell you the critical angle is كذا. خلاص, that's it. طيب. Um, يبقى again the angle of incidence هنا is 45 degrees. What will happen again? Total internal reflection. Total internal reflection. No light will emerge from the glass block. لا, it will be reflected back again كده. طب it will reflect back again كده with an angle of 45. طب at this point what will happen? At this point what will happen? Will it refract? Will it bend? Will it move upwards, downwards? Where will it move? لا, it will continue as a straight line. Again, why will it continue as a straight line? Because it's moving along the normal. Because it's moving along the normal. خلي بالكوا, this question يعني it's not that hard. Okay, it's not that hard. But you need to remember what is the critical angle, what is total internal reflection, كل الحاجات دي. Okay. طيب يلا. I hope you've finished up your drawings. ماشي. يلا كله خلص. Yeah. On figure 5.2, write the names of the missing colors. What are the missing colors?
Orange.
orange
وblue.
وblue
Yeah, orange and blue. State the property of visible light that increases with this arrow.
Wavelength.
Wavelength. Wavelength. Red has the longest wavelength and the violet has the shortest wavelength, but the frequency is the opposite. Red has the lowest frequency, violet has the highest frequency. حلو. يلا. The point labeled F is a principal focus. State the name or state the distance between PF. What's the distance PF?
Focal length.
focal length
صح. Focal length. Draw another ray that enables you
focal
to
length
locate the image. Yes, focal length. That enables you to locate the image O. What's another ray that I will draw? What's another ray that I could draw in this question?
أنا ممكن أعملها ماشية parallel ونازلة على الفوكال point.
Yes. بالظبط. Parallel. I have to draw it parallel كده. Until it reaches the center. And then what should you do? It will pass through the focal point. طبعا as a straight line. Okay. Until you have your rulers, you should do it very accurately. Okay. Okay. Where is the image?
Intersecting point.
Point of intersection. Bravo. Point of intersection هنا. The image is facing downwards, and I have to label it I. Yeah, this is the image. Circle two words that describe this image.
Inverted or diminished.
inverted enlarged
Enlarged.
Diminished يا مستر.
is diminished
طبعا
sorry
يعني
diminished
يعني ايه diminished?
Decreasing size.
يعني it got smaller
Smaller, صح. طب شباب, what is the third property of this image? What is the third?
Real.
Real.
and
Bravo.
it's real
Real. Bravo. Okay. You are required to know this for your exam, inshallah. You are required to know that it is a real image. Whenever it's inverted this way, whenever the image is inverted this way, it would be a real image. Yes. ماشي. State the name for the reflected sound.
echo.
echo,
Echo.
Compare the properties of the original sound with the reflected sound for each property trick. Speed is the same speed. What about the wavelength?
The same.
برضه the same. صح? What about the loudness?
different,
طبعا different loudness. What about the frequency?
Same.
Same.
الامplitude.
different.
طبعا longitudinal.
different,
Uh-huh.
The same.
طبعا they're
Same.
both the same. You cannot produce a transverse sound wave. مفيش حاجة. There's nothing such as
same,
a transverse sound wave. ماشي. Student B measures the time between the original sound and the reflected sound. Suggest a suitable device for measuring the time interval between hearing.
stopwatch,
Stopwatch.
The time interval between hearing the sound and hearing the reflected sound is 3.1 seconds. Use the information to calculate the speed of sound.
تبقى 2D over 3.1
يبقى
2D
this
صح؟
2D over T. ليه؟ علشان this is an echo. Reflected يعني time interval between hearing the original sound and the reflected خلاص this is an echo. So whenever I have an echo I say speed equals 2D over T. يلا 2 times the distance. What was the distance?
520.
صح 520 and the time is 3.1 seconds divided by 3.1 seconds. يلا calculate the speed. Calculate the speed. هيطلع كام؟
335 meters per second.
لا 345.
45 ولا 35؟
30.
لا 35.
35. Okay. ماشي. This is the speed of sound. Again, if you calculate the speed of sound and you find it to be illogical, يعني if the speed of sound you calculated it and it was, let's say, 125 meters per second, that has to be wrong. Why? Because there's a range for the speed of sound, which is around 330 plus or minus. يعني 320 okay 310 ماشي 340 350 okay. But if you calculate the speed of sound in air, for example, the speed of sound in air, and it was 800 meters per second, لا, that's wrong. If you calculate the speed of sound in air and it was 50 meters per second, لا, that's wrong برضو. But we need to find logical answers for our speed. Okay. ماشي. Shows several situations and some electromagnetic radiations. State the name of the region, okay, in which the the electromagnetic spectrum is being used. Yeah. Girl listening to a radio.
radio wave.
طبعا radio wave صح. يلا radio waves. What about الموبايل phone?
infrared. لا ثانية light.
microwave,
Microwaves. Security check.
X-ray.
infrared.
لا 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 X-rays not infrared.
لا.
All waves can be reflected, refracted, and diffracted. State two other properties of waves in the electromagnetic spectrum.
Have the same speed of 3 times 10 to the power of 8.
Same speed. What else?
They can travel in a vacuum.
Travel in a vacuum. What else?
They're all
Travel in a
transverse.
vacuum.
Transverse. Oh, I can write down they travel in a vacuum. أو you can say that they are transverse. Okay. ماشي. vacuum W. ماشي. State two safety precautions for working with gamma radiation.
barrier.
keep a
ماشي.
large
keep
distance from
distance keep
the
distance أو
Increase
hide
the
behind
distance.
barrier.
صح.
use a lead barrier.
lead barrier. Okay. lead shield. Okay. Increase the distance. Okay. يلا. Increase the distance. Use a lead barrier. Okay. I can say decrease the time of exposure. يلا. time of exposure. حلو. يلا. Identify three electrical hazards in figure 9.1.
اطلع فوق ثانية.
ماشي.
The wire is going over the kitchen sink and it's in water.
ماشي.
وفي loose wire عند الكتل.
عند الكاتل أيوة. شكرا خلاص.
ماشي. Three electrical hazards. الواير is ماشي. There's wet. There is some water. Okay. water. What else?
loose wire عند الكتل.
exposed wire.
exposed wire مش loose wire. حلو. بنسميها exposed wire. Yes. ايه تاني؟
وفي برضو 5 أمبير كيبل والكتل أصلا 10 أمبيرز.
حلو.
يبقى difference in ampere.
صح.
damage insulator.
damage what?
insulator.
insulator. Yes. exposed wire. Okay. ماشي. with
ينفع
10
ينفع اكتب difference in ampere.
per kettle. difference in the current. ماشي. بس هو يعني هو difference in the current مثلا for example if it was the other way around it would have been okay. صح. if the kettle was only 5 amperes and the wire was 10 amperes it would have been okay. فانت you need to specify the problem with the difference. You need to specify that the current required for the kettle was 10 amperes and the maximum current that could be supplied by the wire is only 5 amperes. So this would be a problem. The wire will eventually melt. صح. What are the problems? Oh, he's stating, what are the problems? Give two possible consequences for these.
electrocuted.
Electric shock. Okay, what else? Huh?
overheating of
Overheating.
appliances.
ماشي. Electric shock
Cable will melt.
and overheating or the cable will melt. ماشي. صح. electric shock and overheating. حلوة. State the name of the component labeled Q.
power supply.
AC power supply.
AC. Okay, not just power supply. You can't say power supply. خلي بالكوا a battery is a power supply. Battery is a power supply. بس هنا I have to write down إن هي it's an AC power supply.
مستر ازاي الفرق لو هي AC ولا DC؟
طيب DC كنت هرسم I would have drawn a battery or a cell. Okay. ده كده ايه DC power supply. بس this whenever I have this wave this is an AC alternating current. In figure 9.1 draw the symbol for a fuse. Fuse طبعا احنا we know how to draw the fuse صح؟
يبقى it's a box with a line going across.
بالظبط. This is the symbol for a fuse. State the purpose of the fuse.
prevents
control
circuits
current.
Circuit.
لا, it doesn't control the current. It protects the circuit from overheating.
overheating.
It does not control the current. Okay.
ممكن أقول prevents overheating.
Yes, prevents the circuit from overheating. صح. Protects the circuit from overheating. طب state an advantage of using a circuit breaker instead of a fuse. Okay. The difference
السيركت
is
بريكر reusable بس الفيوز لا.
yes, it is الcircuit breaker يا شباب. Well, it's a very simple difference. Okay, very simple difference between the fuse and the circuit breaker. The fuse, what happens to the fuse? It melts. But whenever the fuse melts, I need to go and buy a new fuse. And but the difference, the simple difference in the fuse, circuit breaker, whenever the current increases, what does it do? It just switches off the circuit, and then I can just simply switch it back on. And I
بس
can go and switch it back. It's a switch. It's an on-off switch. And I can switch it back on.
more كتبت إن it's more efficient.
لا, not more efficient. لا, it doesn't have to do with the efficiency. It has to do with the reusability. I can use it again. Okay. Can use it again.
مستر
Hmm.
ينفع اكتب easy to reset.
ماشي. You can write down easy to reset. Hmm. When the hair dryer is used on the low setting, the current is 5.2. When it's used on the high setting, the current is 8.9. Circle one correct fuse rating for the hair dryer.
10 أو 13.
13.
10.
10.
10
10 يا مستر
ولا
صح؟
13؟
10.
13 13
لا 10.
10 يا
13
مستر.
طيب
10.
بصوا كده. 10 is too close. خلي بالكوا 10 is too close. على فكرة, if it was an open-end question, يعني if you were required to write down the fuse rating and if you write down 10, it would have been okay. But if I gave you the option of 13, then 13 would be better. 13 in this question
13
would be better than 10. ليه؟ عشان 10 is too close to 8.9, which is 9. Yeah, 10 is too close to 8.9, which is 9. خلي بالكوا, when the fuse or when this hair dryer requires 9 amperes, usually a lot, okay, most of the time it would take more than 9 amperes. Most of the time it could take 10 amperes very easily. Very easily it would take 10 amperes. طب is this harmful to the hair dryer? لا, it's not harmful to the hair dryer at all. 9 amperes, if you input 10 amperes to the hair dryer, لا, it's not harmful. So usually we need to put a fuse which is a little larger, okay, a little higher than the required current, okay. So if the current in the fuse is 9 amperes and you put a fuse of 10 amperes, that it would it would cut off the circuit almost instantly, okay. Yeah, Mister, it only takes 9 amperes. لا, it would take 9 amperes, but usually, more than usually, it would take up more than 9 amperes. It would take 10, maybe 10.5 amperes. Okay. فهنا the best rating for the fuse would be what would be 13 amperes. Okay. ماشي. حلو.
مستر انا يعني عندي مشكلة في الراديو اكتيف ايميشن السؤال الجاي يعني.
طيب let's see. What's the most penetrating emission? قول لي.
gamma rays.
صح. This is the most penetrating. It's quite easy. Why? Because it's a gamma radiation. It has no mass. It has a very high speed. Thus, it can penetrate almost everything. Gamma. Gamma radiation. Type the most ionizing.
ألف.
alpha.
Type. Why is the alpha the most ionizing? Hmm. Why is
عشان
the alpha the most
Because it gives off the most charge to the surroundings.
it gives off the most charge to the surroundings ماشي. It has the highest charge ماشي. What does ionization mean?
يعني it changes the atom to an ion faster مثلا.
بالظبط. It has the capability. It can change other atoms, other surrounding atoms to ions. Positive or negative ions, I don't care دلوقتي, بس it has the capability. It can ionize other atoms. It can create positive or negative ions to other in other atoms. The charge of an alpha, we know it's positive 2. We know that the charge of the alpha is positive 2. So this is quite strong when I'm comparing it to the beta or the gamma. So it is the strongest in terms of ionization. Why? Because it can ionize other atoms. How can it ionize other atoms? It's positively charged. So basically it will attract gamma, it will attract electrons. صح? It will attract electrons from the surrounding atoms, from the surrounding air, whatever. ماشي. That's why it's the most ionizing. طب which one has a positive charge؟ طبعا يعني
Alpha.
ألفا.
ألفا برضه.
alpha برضه.
ألفا.
Determine the number of protons.
53.
Number of neutrons.
78.
78.
طبعا how did we do it? 131 minus 53 would be 70. Calculate the activity after 24 days. The half-life is 8 days. The initial radiation was 1600 and the time is 24 days. What should I do?
نعمل 24 over 8
طيب يبقى أول step
هتطلع
we need to find the number of half-lives. We need to find what? The number of half-lives. And I will take the total time. Total time.
يبقى 3.
Okay. صح, over الhalf, which should be 3 half lives. What do I mean by 3 half
divide by
lives?
2 3 times
1600 divided
Divide
by 2 3 times
divided to 3 times.
3 times. I will divide by 2. What is the number? 131. صح? I will divide 131 by 2 3 times.
لا
No,
1600
1600.
صح. 1600 او 1600. I will divide ال 1600 يبقى ال 131 ماليش دعوه بيها. It's as if it's not there اصلا. It's as if it's not there. 1600 divided by 2. 800.
800.
Divide by 2 again.
400.
Divide by 2
الأنسر
again.
200.
200. يبقى after 3 half lives. What do I mean by half life? يعني I'm dividing by 2. I have to divide the previous number by 2. Okay. شباب احنا we do not divide هنا by 6. Never, never, never do I ever divide by 6. I have to divide by 8, divide by 2. How many times will I divide by 2? I will divide by 2 3 times. Well, why will I divide by...
أنا عملت divided by 2 to the power of 3
ماشي بس ده فزلكة. أنا ما بحبش الفزلكة. Okay, divide by كام؟ by 2 3 times. Okay, that's يعني you are right. بس ايه بلاش. Okay, بلاش عشان أنا I will take the easy way. I will do it the easy way. Dividing by 2 كام؟ 3 times. Okay. طيب حلو.